The night sky over the Pacific was a cold abyss, moonlight breaking faintly through the high-altitude haze as the F-22 Raptors cut across the silence with predatory grace, their stealth profiles shimmering faintly against the thin clouds. Inside his cockpit, Captain Ryan Keller adjusted his oxygen mask, eyes locked on the green-hued radar screen that pulsed steadily before him. The AWACS command had called it in 20 minutes ago, an unidentified aircraft moving fast, shadowing an electronic signature no one could place, heading straight toward the carrier group station near Guam. At this range, the strike group was vulnerable, and the order had been simple: intercept, identify, and if necessary, engage. Keller had flown dozens of missions, combat and training alike, but something about the way command had worded the alert, potential adversary classified unknown, rules of engagement hot, had his gut twisted tighter than usual. His wingman, Lieutenant Marcus Hale, flew 200 meters off his right wing, silent on the comms, the glow of his HUD faintly visible in the canopy. They both knew what Code Red meant: authorization to shoot, no questions asked. The two Raptors surged forward at supersonic speed, the world outside dissolving into streaks of shadow and silver. In the sterile confines of the cockpit, Keller's breath sounded loud, mechanical, as if reminding him of the line between his flesh and the machine carrying him. Command fed them updates in clipped tones, but the bogey was maintaining an odd flight pattern, darting into clouds, cutting across air corridors at strange angles, showing neither clear aggression nor retreat. "This doesn't look like standard intercept protocol." Hale finally broke the silence, his voice a low growl through the comms. "Target looks sloppy, like it doesn't know where it's going." Keller didn't respond immediately, his eyes narrowing as he studied the faint silhouette that had finally materialized ahead, breaking free of the clouds. A sleek, dark figure, twin engines glowing faintly red at the tips, darting in uneven motions like a dancer losing rhythm. He'd seen plenty of adversary aircraft in his time, and none of them moved quite like this. "Stay sharp," Keller muttered, fingers brushing the trigger switch on his stick. "Command says Code Red. We can't afford hesitation." But even as he said it, he felt something gnawing at the back of his mind. The target's maneuvers weren't hostile, not in the way an enemy fighter would dogfight or posture. It looked lost, disoriented. He zoomed his visor for visual confirmation, and for a fleeting second, the faint trail of exhaust drifting from the left engine caught his eye. Exhaust drift. The plumes spiraled strangely, not the razor-straight line of a military-grade afterburner but a soft, uneven wisp that bent sideways in the upper currents. It was subtle, almost invisible in the night sky, but to a trained eye, it was a message. No hostile pilot flew like that. No stealth adversary would allow such a flaw in their exhaust signature. It was sloppy, vulnerable, betraying. "Hold," Keller said suddenly, his voice sharper than intended. "Don't fire." Hale's voice snapped back, incredulous. "Are you out of your mind? Code Red is clear. That's the enemy. Command says." "I said hold." Keller barked, overriding comms protocol. His heart thudded hard, adrenaline mixing with something else. Instinct, a whisper telling him that if he pulled that trigger he'd be making the worst mistake of his life. The unidentified aircraft dipped suddenly, rolling unevenly into a shallow dive as if the pilot had lost control. Keller adjusted his throttle, pursuing but not locking weapons. He zoomed closer, every nerve in his body buzzing with tension. For a fraction of a second, the canopy reflection caught moonlight and he saw her. Not the face clearly, just a silhouette, a faint profile against the glass, but the unmistakable figure of a woman pilot, her helmet shaped smaller, her movements inside the cockpit erratic yet desperate, not aggressive. Keller's throat tightened. None of their adversaries flew female pilots in that region, at least none he'd ever been briefed on. The realization settled like a stone in his stomach. Something was wrong. "Marcus, listen to me," Keller said quietly, steadying his voice. "That's not the enemy. Look at her exhaust drift, left engines bleeding uneven. She's riding damage. That's why her maneuvers are off. She's not hostile, she's fighting to keep that bird alive." Silence on the comms for 3 heartbeats. Then Hale's voice, lower, conflicted. "Command says we take the shot." "Command's not seeing what we're seeing," Keller shot back. "If we fire, we'll be downing someone who's already barely holding on. Look at her flight path. No lock-ons, no countermeasures, no offensive posture. She's not lining us up, she's just trying to stay in the air." The unidentified aircraft shuddered in the night sky, smoke trailing thicker now from the wounded engine, spiraling downward before leveling off in a desperate correction. Keller's pulse hammered as he leaned closer to the glass, watching her fight the controls. Whoever she was, she wasn't their enemy, she was surviving, clinging to every second of flight. He could almost imagine her inside, sweat on her brow, hands trembling as she fought against physics and fate, alone in the vast ocean sky. He flicked off his weapon's lock, ignoring the warning beep that reminded him he was defying Code Red engagement rules. "I've got her," he whispered more to himself than anyone else. "I'm not letting her go down like this." Hale swore under his breath, torn between orders and loyalty, but he didn't fire. The two Raptors flanked the damaged aircraft, their sleek silhouettes like silent guardians in the night. Keller keyed his mic, switching to open frequency, praying she could hear. "Unidentified aircraft, this is Captain Ryan Keller, United States Air Force. You are in restricted airspace. Identify yourself." Static crackled, then a faint, trembling voice, distorted by interference but undeniably feminine, broke through. "Please, don't shoot. I'm not your enemy. My craft, systems failing, I need help." Keller closed his eyes for half a second, the weight of her words cementing what his instincts already knew. She wasn't an adversary. She wasn't a threat. She was someone lost, broken, and hanging on to life at 30,000 feet. And now, against protocol, against the cold orders of command, it was up to him to decide whether she lived or died. The voice lingered in Keller's ears long after the static faded, a fragile plea that cut sharper than the roar of his engines. Every rule, every drilled commandment of Code Red engagement echoed at the back of his mind, but they sounded distant, irrelevant compared to the undeniable human tone in her words. She wasn't playing him, wasn't masking hostility behind weakness. He knew that much. He had flown enough combat sorties to recognize deception, and what he had just heard was not calculated performance but a breaking point. He steadied his breathing, tightening his grip on the stick as his Raptor matched her uneven trajectory, his HUD painting alerts that screamed danger, fuel loss, structural instability, potential detonation if the aircraft lost too much altitude too fast. His wingman's voice returned, low and edged with conflict. "Ryan, we're off script. Command's watching our feeds. You realize what you're doing?" Keller's jaw locked. "I'm doing what's right. You fire on her and you'll live with the fact you killed someone asking for help. That's not war, Marcus, that's execution." Hale cursed again but stayed silent, the unspoken loyalty in his decision not to break formation speaking louder than any words. The unidentified craft wobbled again, the left exhaust coughing a stream of sparks before stabilizing. Whoever she was, she had skill. Keeping that machine airborne under such damage meant she was fighting tooth and nail with training and willpower. Keller keyed the open frequency again. "You're not safe here. If you can maintain altitude, I'll guide you toward a secure zone. What's your call sign? What are you flying?" For a moment there was only the whisper of static, and he thought she might have blacked out. Then her voice crackled again, strained but clearer this time. "Designation, Athena, test pilot, not hostile, repeat, not hostile." Keller frowned, eyes narrowing. Athena? He had never heard of any Allied program using that code name, and yet her accent wasn't enemy. It carried a lilt, American, though faintly tinged with something else, European maybe but not adversary. "Athena, your left engine's bleeding hard," he said, scanning the plume. "You're minutes away from catastrophic failure. Where did you launch from? Who authorized your flight path?" Her response came broken, fragmented by failing comms. "Experimental, wasn't supposed, storm interference, navigation failed, please, I can't." Her words cut off in a sharp burst of static as the aircraft jolted violently, nose dipping before she pulled it up again with desperate precision. Keller's pulse spiked as he saw the stress lines shudder across her fuselage. She wasn't lying, this wasn't some adversary on a covert op. She was out of place, broken, and if he didn't act fast she'd be a falling star across the Pacific in under 10 minutes. AWACS command broke in then, their voices sharp and clipped. "Raptor lead, you are violating engagement protocol. Confirm hostile target lock and fire. Repeat, fire." Keller ignored it, lips pressed tight. He couldn't explain what he saw in her exhaust drift, in the way she fought her machine like it was an extension of her own body. He couldn't explain the gut certainty that killing her would be the gravest mistake of his career. "Athena," he said firmly, "you're not alone anymore. Stay with me. I'll get you out of this." Hale muttered under his breath, "You're going to get court-martialed." "Better that than murder," Keller replied without hesitation. The damaged craft faltered again, banking left unintentionally, and Keller slid his Raptor closer, close enough that his cockpit lights illuminated the scarred fuselage. He caught a clearer glimpse this time, Sleek, not quite any model he recognized, like a prototype blending 5th-gen stealth with contours he'd never studied in any classified briefing. Whatever she was flying, it wasn't in the manuals. He zoomed in on the canopy, catching another fleeting look at her silhouette. She was still there, head jerking faintly as if struggling against the pull of exhaustion. The comms hissed alive again. "I can't hold her much longer," Athena whispered, her voice cracking like glass under strain. "Systems failing, hydraulics, pressure dropping." Keller forced calm into his voice. "Listen to me. Focus on what you can control. Keep your nose level, minimize roll input. Don't fight her too hard or you'll bleed out your last hydraulics. I'll guide you in." He switched to encrypted comms, cutting AWACS from his feed before they could issue another lethal order. It was a gamble that could end his career, but it bought them both precious minutes. Hale stayed close, silent but present, his own refusal to follow orders cementing their bond. The ocean stretched endless beneath them, black glass reflecting shards of moonlight, an unforgiving grave if she went down. Keller scanned his navigation, calculating options. Anderson Air Force Base was too far. Nearest safe ground was a remote strip on Saipan, but she'd never make it at her current bleed rate. He clenched his jaw, thinking faster. "Athena, listen. There's an unmarked emergency landing strip on Tinian, old wartime relic but still usable. I'll vector you there. It's your best chance." Her breathing filled the comms, ragged but determined. "Copy, Tinny, trying." Keller shifted his Raptor into escort position, his aircraft practically forming a shield on her starboard side. He kept one eye on her faltering trajectory, the other on the horizon. Every second dragged like an hour, the tension in his body coiled so tight it hurt. Then, abruptly, AWACS returned, this time angrier, more insistent. "Raptor lead, you are disobeying direct orders. Last warning, fire on the bogey, or you will be relieved of duty immediately." Keller flicked the comms off entirely, shutting them out. Let them scream into the void. Out here, it was just him, his wingman, and a woman fighting for her life in a machine that wanted to kill her. Hale's voice cut the silence softly. "If she makes it, we'll need answers. You know that, right?" "Yeah," Keller muttered. "But first she has to make it." The minutes crawled as the damaged aircraft bled altitude, its exhaust trailing like a wounded comet. Keller spoke steadily, feeding her guidance, keeping her focused as her voice cracked, faded, then rallied again. He could feel the weight of her struggle as if it pressed against his own chest, a silent bond across the night sky. And deep inside, beyond orders, beyond logic, something told him this was only the beginning, that Athena wasn't just another pilot in distress, but a secret the world wasn't ready to face. The horizon tilted gently as Keller adjusted his angle, his HUD glowing with navigation data that told him how little time they had left. The damaged aircraft groaned through the comms, every metallic vibration carried across the channel as Athena fought the crippled controls. He could hear her breath now, shallow and ragged, punctuated by soft grunts whenever she wrenched the stick to stabilize. She was holding on, but only barely, and the fact she hadn't ejected yet said something about either her determination or her knowledge that ejecting wasn't an option. Keller couldn't shake the thought that whatever experimental jet she was flying might not even have a safe ejection system. He had to keep her in the air no matter what it cost him. "Athena, status check," he asked, voice steady even as sweat slid down his temple under the helmet. A long pause, then her faint reply, "Hydraulics, 20%. Left engine unstable. Life support nominal for now. Fuel bleed critical." Keller's heart sank. At that rate, she'd flame out before they even reached the island. He looked at the map, his brain racing through calculations. "Marcus," he said into the private channel, "if we keep escorting her to Tinian, she won't make it." "Options." Hale's voice was grim. "We could try an aerial refuel, but with her damage, connecting would rip her bird apart. Closest safe water ditch zone is near Rota, but she won't survive that impact at this bleed. Only chance is ground." Keller exhaled slowly, the decision burning through him. "Then we get her to ground. Even if it means guiding her down myself." They closed the distance, Keller shifting so close his Raptor's shadow overlapped hers in the moonlight. He could see the jagged gash along her left wing, the shudder of unstable flaps, the faint sparks still dancing from the exhaust like dying fireflies. This was no ordinary machine. Its design looked sleek, angular, but not familiar, like something half-born between today's technology and tomorrow's imagination. "Athena," Keller said softly over the open comms, "you're not alone anymore. I'm right here with you. We're going to put you down safe, I promise." Her breathing quickened faintly, then she whispered back, You don't know what you're risking. If command realizes what I'm flying, they'll brand me hostile no matter what I say. Let them try, Keller replied firmly. Right now you're just a pilot in trouble and I don't leave people behind. Hale cut in sharply. Ryan, you realize you're risking treason charges if they pin you for aiding an unknown experimental craft. Whatever she's flying, it's not on our books. Keller gritted his teeth. Then it's on their books. Black projects classified beyond us. You really think she just built that thing in her garage? Someone sent her up and she wasn't supposed to be here. Doesn't matter, we keep her alive. Athena coughed, a strained, tired laugh breaking through her static. You don't understand, I wasn't supposed to be anywhere near this theater. They'll bury me if I land in your territory. Keller's chest tightened. The pieces were falling together even if they made no sense yet. She was running from someone, or something, and her flight was never meant to intersect theirs. But fate had brought her here, into his crosshairs, and now into his protection. The island chain was faintly visible ahead, dark shapes against the silver ocean, their outlines painted by moonlight. Tinian's old strip was close, but her fuel numbers were plummeting. He had maybe 7 minutes before she went dark. He pulled his throttle back slightly, slowing to match her drag, speaking calmly like a teacher guiding a student. Okay, Athena, listen carefully. We're going to start a controlled descent. Keep your nose up just a degree higher than the vector wants, let gravity do some of the work. Don't fight every shake, just stabilize enough to keep it level. You can do this. She hesitated, then breathed out a soft, copy. The descent began, painfully slow, every meter of lost altitude accompanied by the groan of her aircraft fighting to stay aloft. Keller mirrored her movements, positioning himself so if she overrolled, he could warn her instantly. Hale stayed above, watching their six in case AWACS tried to force a drone intercept. Keller's comm panel flashed red, an incoming encrypted override. He ignored it. Command's voice wasn't what she needed right now. Only his. You're doing fine, he said gently as her aircraft dipped again then recovered. Just keep your eyes on the horizon, not the instruments. Trust your hands. The words seemed to ground her. Her breathing steadied, her corrections smoothed, and the descent grew less chaotic. For a fleeting moment, Keller thought she might actually make it. Then a burst of flame erupted from her left engine, licking bright orange before sputtering out entirely. Her scream cut across the comms as the jet lurched, nose diving violently. Keller's instincts kicked in, slamming his throttle forward as he dove alongside her. Pull back, Athena. Easy pressure, don't yank it. Ride the fall, nose up now. Her voice came broken, panicked. No control, hydraulics failing, she won't respond. Yes, she will, Keller barked. You've got partial authority, use it. Don't fight the dive, shape it. Give me 30% pull and trust the airframe. He saw her silhouette jerk forward as she slammed the stick, the jet shuddering like a wounded beast before its nose clawed upward, leveling into a shallow glide. The flames extinguished, leaving a ghostly trail of smoke that glowed in the moonlight. Keller let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. She had pulled it off. Barely. The old strip at Tinian came into view now, a dark scar across the island's foliage, overgrown at the edges but still intact. It was their only salvation. Keller keyed his mic, urgent but calm. There it is, Athena. Aim for that strip, keep your descent smooth. You've got one shot at this. She groaned, every word dripping fatigue. If I miss it, I'm done. Then don't miss, Keller replied softly, his tone carrying something deeper than orders, something that steadied rather than commanded. I'm right here every second. Just keep flying with me. Hale's voice cut in quietly, almost reverent. If she pulls this off, it'll be the miracle of the year. Keller ignored him, his focus locked on the silhouette ahead. Athena's jet wavered, dipped, then steadied again. She was listening, trusting him despite the chaos around her. And in that fragile thread of trust, Keller felt something shift. This wasn't just a rescue anymore. This was destiny intertwining two lives at 30,000 feet, against orders, against logic, against the weight of the world bearing down on them both. The strip rushed closer, its jagged outline barely distinguishable from the dense jungle surrounding it, the faint silver glow of moonlight giving just enough definition for her to aim. Keller's heart pounded in rhythm with every second as Athena's crippled aircraft trembled through the glide, smoke still curling faintly from the ruined engine. She was lined up but too high, too fast, and he knew she didn't have the luxury of circling back. This was a one-shot gamble, and if she missed the strip, the jungle would tear the prototype to shreds. He pushed his Raptor lower, flying alongside her wing, calling out corrections as if his voice alone could hold her steady. Ease the nose down, give yourself room to bleed speed, flaps if you've got anything left. Don't overcorrect, just ride it out. Her breathing was audible, ragged but determined as she muttered back. Flaps, responsive at 50%. Landing gear, malfunction. Damn it, it's jammed. Keller's stomach sank. A gear-up landing on a strip that uneven would almost certainly flip her aircraft on impact. He thought fast, clenching his jaw. Forget the gear. Belly her in. Keep her level and slow as much as you can before touchdown. Sparks are better than breaking apart midair. There was a pause, then her quiet voice, resigned but fierce. Copy. Belly landing. The final approach began, each heartbeat a countdown to impact. Keller matched her movements perfectly, guiding her down like a shepherd to a wounded bird. The strip grew larger in his HUD, the overgrowth creeping onto its cracked asphalt edges. He remembered the history of that strip, used by B-29s long ago, now abandoned except for emergency drills. Tonight it was about to serve its purpose one last time. Athena's jet dipped slightly left and Keller immediately called it out. Counter with 2 degrees starboard. Easy easy, that's it. She obeyed, the aircraft correcting sluggishly, sparks already visible where her ruined wing grazed the air unevenly. He could almost feel her exhaustion, her willpower holding together a machine that wanted nothing more than to die in the dark sky. Hale's voice cut through, tense. Ryan, she's coming in too hot. She'll overshoot. Keller's pulse hammered. No, she can make it. Athena, spoilers, dump whatever drag you've got left now. A metallic groan echoed across her comms as she deployed, the jet visibly shuddering but slowing fractionally. The strip was right beneath them now, looming up fast. Level her out. Keller shouted. Now. Ride the belly, don't fight her. The impact came with a thunderous screech as her fuselage slammed into the cracked tarmac, sparks erupting in a cascade of fiery light. Her craft skidded violently, carving a glowing trail across the strip as smoke billowed. Keller followed overhead, heart lodged in his throat, watching helplessly as she fought to keep the nose from digging in. 4 agonizing seconds, the jet slid, spun, then lurched sideways before grinding to a halt in a cloud of dust and fire. Silence fell, broken only by Keller's heavy breathing. He circled once, scanning the wreck. The canopy was intact, no explosion. Relief surged through him like electricity. Athena, talk to me, he called, his voice tight. Static. His chest clenched. He tried again, louder. Athena, are you alive? A cough answered, faint but real, followed by a shaky laugh. Alive, barely. That was the worst landing of my life. Keller exhaled so hard his vision blurred for a second. Relief washed through him, but it was short-lived as his radar lit up with new contacts. Drones, fast movers dispatched from AWACS. Command wasn't wasting time. They'd seen everything and now they were coming to clean up what they considered a breach. Hale's voice carried the weight of realization. They're sending hunter-killers. Orders are to erase her and her craft before anyone can put eyes on it. Keller knew it was true. Black projects never left survivors. Whatever Athena had been flying was something someone in a suit far above their pay grades didn't want the world to see. His choice had already set him against orders, but now came the true betrayal, protecting her not just from her failing jet but from his own command. Marcus, Keller said quietly, if you want out, now's the time. You can report I disobeyed and broke off. There was silence, then Hale's voice, steady and resolute. Screw that. I'm in this with you. Keller felt gratitude surge but kept his focus razor sharp. Then here's the play. Those drones will target her wreck. We intercept before they get close. Buy her time to get clear. He switched to Athena's channel. Athena, listen. Drones inbound. You need to move, get out of that jet, head for the trailing. We'll cover you. Her voice came weak but defiant. Negative. I can't leave the craft intact. If they recover it, everything I risked is for nothing. I need to destroy it myself. Keller's stomach tightened. She was right. If that jet was as advanced as it looked, leaving it intact would hand her enemies, and maybe his command, a weapon they'd kill to control. Then set it up fast, he urged. Scuttle charge, fuel ignition, whatever you've got. You have 5 minutes before they're on top of us. Hale cut in. Ryan, here they come. 20 miles out and closing. Keller's HUD painted the drones, sleek specks slicing through the dark sky. He throttled forward, heart pounding with grim resolve. Tonight he wasn't flying for orders or country. He was flying for her. He and Hale angled up, raptors cutting through the night like arrows, intercept vectors locking as the drones lit up red on his screen. He had no illusions. These weren't target drones, they were hunters, fast and lethal. AWACS had unleashed them with one purpose: silence. Keller gritted his teeth, switching his systems hot. If command wanted silence, they'd have to go through him first. The night exploded into motion as Keller's Raptor surged forward, HUD lighting up with warning tones as the first wave of hunter-killer drones closed the distance. They were sleek, angular, designed for speed and lethality rather than survivability, each carrying AI routines that made them more relentless than any human pilot. Keller armed his missiles, his pulse steadying into the rhythm of combat, but this fight felt different. He wasn't defending a carrier group or intercepting hostiles over disputed airspace. He was protecting one pilot, a stranger who had become something far more important in the span of an hour. Hale's voice cut in sharp and focused. 4 inbound high, 3 low. They're spreading to bracket us. Keller adjusted his throttle, eyes narrowing. We split them. I'll take high, you sweep low. Keep them away from the strip. The first drones locked onto his Raptor, their targeting beams flickering on his HUD. Keller rolled hard left, letting their missiles streak past harmlessly before cutting back with a tight climb, his afterburners flaring as he brought one drone into his sights. He fired, a sidewinder slicing through the sky and exploding the drone in a blossom of fire. The kill did nothing to ease the tension. More were closing fast, their swarm tactics designed to overwhelm even the best pilots. Hale's voice grunted through comms as his Raptor dove low, guns rattling. 2 down here, but they're pressing hard. Keller twisted through the melee, pulling maneuvers that strained even the Raptor's advanced systems. The drones were good, frighteningly good, but they lacked something: instinct, improvisation, the subtle edge that came from a human who refused to lose. He exploited it, rolling into unexpected vectors, forcing them to overshoot. Another missile launched, another fiery blossom lighting the sky. Still they came. Below, Athena's wreck burned faintly as she worked, her silhouette scrambling across the fuselage. Keller caught glimpses between maneuvers, her small form dragging gear, sparks as she rigged charges to critical points. She wasn't running, not yet. She was determined to deny her enemies what they sought. Keller pulled into a hard climb, dragging 2 drones with him. He rolled inverted, cut throttle suddenly, and watched them overshoot, confused for the fraction of a second he needed. His cannons roared, tearing both apart in midair. 6 left. Hale shouted. I'm hit but still flying. Keller's chest tightened. Status. Left stabilizer damaged. I can keep her steady but not for long. Keller growled under his breath. They were burning their lives for this woman and her jet, but retreat was not an option. He dove back down, 2 drones cutting across his tail, their AI sharp enough to predict his maneuvers. Warning klaxons screamed in his cockpit as a missile locked, closing fast. He pulled hard into a barrel roll, countermeasures firing, and the missile detonated harmlessly behind him. One drone clipped his wing, shaking the Raptor violently, but he kept control, spinning into a reversal and shredding it with a burst of cannon fire. Below, Athena's voice crackled through the comms, breathless but firm. Charges set. Fuel rigged. I'm arming the detonation now. Keller spared a glance at the burning strip. You need to move, Athena. Get clear before it blows. Negative, she replied sharply. If I leave, they'll kill me before I make it to cover. I need your window. Keller clenched his jaw, heart pounding. You'll have it. He dove, shredding another drone, the explosion lighting the canopy with orange glare. Hale called out, 3 left. They're regrouping for a final strike. Keller's HUD confirmed it, 3 red blips converging, working in perfect sync to box them in. He had seconds to choose: stay defensive and be worn down, or go on the attack and risk everything. Marcus, double team. We split and cross at center, force them into each other. Hale didn't hesitate. On your mark. Keller counted down, 3, 2, 1 mark. Both Raptors dove from opposite sides, engines screaming as they cut across the night sky, passing so close Keller could see Hale's helmet flash through the canopy. The drones hesitated, AI momentarily uncertain at the sudden crisscross vectors. That pause was all they needed. Keller loosed 2 missiles, Hale fired guns, and 2 drones went up in twin bursts of fire. The last drone swerved, locking onto Keller, chasing him like a shadow. He rolled, cut throttle, kicked rudder, every maneuver in the book, but it stayed glued to his tail. Warning screamed louder. Hale tried to intercept, but his damaged stabilizer stalled him out of position. Keller cursed, sweat stinging his eyes. He was out of tricks, out of time. Then Athena's voice came sharp across the comms. Break low now. He didn't question. He dove. A split second later, a searing flash lit the sky as the wreck on the strip erupted in a massive explosion, the fuel and charges she'd rigged igniting into a fireball that rolled into the heavens. The shockwave slammed into Keller's jet, rattling his teeth, but the effect on the drone was catastrophic. Its sensors overloaded, its systems blinded, it lost lock and veered straight into the fireball, vanishing in shards of flame. Silence reigned for a moment, broken only by heavy breathing across the comms. Hale exhaled a shaky laugh. Well, I'll be damned. She just saved your hide. Keller steadied his Raptor, eyes darting back to the strip. The wreck was gone, reduced to burning debris. For a heart-stopping second he couldn't see her, then movement caught his eye, a figure sprinting toward the treeline, silhouetted by the fire. Relief surged. She made it. But the victory was fragile. AWACS would not accept this. Drones destroyed, prototype lost, comms severed. Keller knew the hammer was coming. Marcus, he said grimly, we need to extract her before command decides to escalate. They'll send more. Hale's voice was weary but resolute. Agreed. But how? We can't exactly land 2 Raptors on that strip, not with it in flames. Keller's mind raced. There's a secondary emergency field on Rhoda. We'll mark a rendezvous there, bring her in with us. If she can reach the coast, we can vector a pickup. He switched channels, his voice urgent. Athena, listen carefully. You need to move fast. Head north through the treeline, find the coast. We'll guide you to an extraction point. She was panting, but her voice was still steady, the iron core of her will unshaken. Copy. I'll make it. Don't leave me behind. Never, Keller said firmly, and he meant it with every fiber of his being. Hale's breathing filled the comms, then his quiet voice. Ryan, we've just crossed a line we can't uncross. Keller's eyes stayed locked on the burning island below, his jaw set. I know. But if protecting her is wrong, I don't want to be right. And as the smoke from the destroyed prototype curled upward into the night, Keller knew this was no longer just about duty or orders. This was war against something bigger, something hidden, and Athena was at the heart of it. The fire on the island raged behind her as Athena pushed into the treeline, branches snapping against her flight suit, lungs burning as she forced herself to keep moving. Every instinct screamed that eyes were still on her, satellites tracking, command watching, but the explosion had bought her a thin veil of chaos. She clutched the small data core strapped tight beneath her vest, the true reason she had risked everything. The prototype had been important, yes, but this device held the schematics, the telemetry, the hidden layers of AI coding she had uncovered, the part AWACS never intended to admit existed. Her boots tore across uneven ground, roots and stones threatening to trip her, but she didn't slow. Keller's voice cut through the crackle of comms, calm, steady, a lifeline in the dark. Athena, you're moving north, correct? Keep bearing 035, you'll break out near the coast in 5 clicks. She gasped, struggling for breath but forcing words out. Copy. Moving north. How long until AWACS sends reinforcements? A pause, then his voice lowered. They're already mobilizing. Hale and I are getting scrambled updates across secure channels. If they figure out where you're heading before you reach the coast, they'll send another drone wing. You've got maybe 20 minutes. She didn't respond. There was no time for fear, only for distance. She pushed harder, thighs screaming, heart hammering. Behind her, the forest lit faintly with the glow of the wreck still burning, but the canopy swallowed her quickly. For the first time in hours, she wasn't fully visible. Keller banked his Raptor overhead, keeping low, his eyes scanning infrared feeds. The treeline was dense, hard to penetrate, but he caught glimpses of her heat signature threading north. He had the strange realization that he trusted her resolve more than he trusted the orders streaming angrily into his cockpit from higher command. Hale's strained voice cut in. Ryan, command's furious. They're telling us to disengage, return to base, let ground units handle the recovery. Keller's grip tightened on the stick. Recovery or cleanup? Silence. Then Hale's voice, grim. You know the answer. Keller cursed under his breath. Not happening. She makes it to the coast, we pull her out. That means we're in this up to our necks, Hale said. Court-martial at best. Treason at worst. Keller's jaw set. I know. But leaving her means killing her ourselves. Can you live with that? Hale's sigh crackled through the channel, tired but firm. No. So we see it through. Below, Athena burst from the forest edge onto rocky ground, the sea stretching before her like a black mirror under the stars. Waves crashed against jagged stone, the salt spray cooling her sweat-slicked face. Relief surged for only a second before the reality hit. She had no vessel, no cover, only exposed shoreline. "I'm on the coast," she reported. "No way off without help." Keller's voice was already there. "Hold position. We're vectoring you to a pickup. I'll have Hale mark a beacon." Hale groaned. "My bird's too damaged for a low pass, but I can drop a flare buoy offshore." "She'll need to swim." Athena glanced at the waves, rough and churning. Her body ached, lungs heaving, but she nodded to herself. "Do it. Just tell me where." The night split with a streak of light as Hale released the buoy, a small capsule streaking downward, splashing into the water and igniting a faint infrared beacon invisible to the naked eye but shining on their HUDs. "Markers set," Hale said. "About 100 meters out. Can you make it?" Athena looked at the waves again, then down at the data core strapped under her suit. Salt water would fry it instantly. She cursed under her breath. "Negative. The core can't get wet. It's shielded against heat and EMP, not water." Keller's mind raced. He couldn't land here, not on jagged rocks, not without a strip. But leaving her was impossible. Then an idea sparked. "Athena, listen. Secure the core in your survival kit, waterproof it. Do you have one?" She glanced down, hands fumbling at the belt clipped to her suit. The kit was there, sealed pouch meant for rations and essentials. She yanked it open, shoved the core inside, zipped it tight. "Secured. Good. Now you swim. We'll scoop you once you're clear of shore." Hale broke in, warning sharp. "Ryan, we've got inbound signatures. More drones, 6 at least. 87 minutes. Keller's blood ran cold. "Athena, move now." She didn't hesitate. She stripped off her helmet, tossed it aside, and dove into the surf, the cold hitting her like a shock wave. Salt stung her eyes, waves battering her, but she forced her arms forward, kicking hard. The survival pouch was clipped high, bobbing with each stroke, her muscles burning as she fought the tide. From above, Keller tracked her heat signature flicker through the water, small and fragile against the vast sea. His gut twisted at the sight. He wanted nothing more than to land, to grab her himself, but all he could do was circle like a hawk, praying she kept afloat. Hale's voice was tight. "Drones are vectoring from the west. We'll have to engage before they reach her." Keller checked fuel, checked armaments, low but not empty. "We hold them. Whatever it takes." Athena's limbs screamed for rest, lungs begging for air, but the flare buoy was closer now, its faint light bobbing like salvation. She locked her eyes on it, refusing to look back at the shore where shadows might already be moving. The memory of AWACS briefings, the cold words of superiors who saw her as expendable, fueled her stroke. She would not die their pawn. Above, Keller saw her near the buoy. Relief surged, but there was no time to savor it. The drones were close now, red blips on his HUD closing fast. Hale's damaged Raptor wobbled into formation beside him. "You ready?" Keller's voice was steel. "Always." The drones broke into attack vectors, splitting to flank. Keller and Hale surged forward, missiles armed, the night sky once again lighting with fire. Behind them, Athena clung to the buoy, chest heaving, waves crashing around her. She lifted her head once, just long enough to see the streaks of light and hear the thunder of jets above, and knew her survival now rested entirely on the men who had chosen to defy their orders for her. The night sky ignited with streaks of fire as Keller and Hale pitched their Raptors into the path of the approaching drones, engines roaring, wings slicing through the darkness. Athena clung desperately to the buoy below, salt water filling her mouth with every surge of the waves, eyes burning as she tried to keep them locked on the distant dogfight overhead. Her body wanted to sink, to surrender, but the thought of drowning while salvation screamed just above her forced her grip tighter around the survival pouch. The drones came in pairs, sleek black predators glinting faintly against the starlight, their formation precise, deadly, each armed with AI routines designed to calculate human errors before they even occurred. But Keller wasn't predictable. He swung his jet low, pulling a hard brake left at the last second, missile lock warning shrieking in his cockpit as he forced 2 drones to overshoot. His thumb jammed the trigger, sidewinders streaking free, exploding one into shards that glittered briefly like fireworks before tumbling into the sea. Hale, breathing hard, fought to keep his battered Raptor stable, one-wing hydraulics sluggish, but still he found his mark, cannon fire ripping through the fuselage of another drone that spiraled in flames toward the water. Athena could see the explosions from below, bursts of light silhouetting the fighters, and for an instant she let herself believe she might live. Then a new threat materialized, 4 drones still in formation, splitting to box in the 2 Raptors. Keller cursed under his breath, sweat slick on his palms despite the freezing cockpit air. These weren't just hunters, They were executioners. Hail on me. We break their net. Hale's voice cracked with strain. Copy. But I'm running hot, hydraulics failing. I can maybe give you one more pass. One's all we need, Keller growled. They dove together, weaving through incoming fire, tracers slicing the night. Athena flinched at each thunderous boom, water shoving against her ears as if the ocean itself tried to silence the chaos. She forced her chin high, refusing to lose sight. The drones pressed, one locking onto Hale's signature, missile arming. Hale yanked hard, alarms blaring, the jet groaning as though about to tear apart. The missile streaked past, narrowly missing, but the strain on his airframe ripped part of his wing plating free, sparks scattering. I'm hit, control degraded, Hale gritted out. Keller's jaw locked. He couldn't let them isolate Hale, not while Athena was still vulnerable below. He pitched his Raptor vertical, engines howling, then cut throttle suddenly, the maneuver dragging the pursuing drones into overshoot again. He fired, one missile then another, each finding its mark. 2 drones detonated in fireballs, the shockwave lighting the clouds. 2 down, he barked, heart pounding. We've got 2 left. But the AI wasn't faltering. The final drones adjusted instantly, flanking wide, forcing separation. One bore down on Hale's wounded fighter. Hale's breathing ragged, eyes locked forward, muttered to himself, not tonight. He jammed the throttle, pushing his damaged jet beyond limits, aiming directly at the drone. At the last second he unleashed a cannon burst, rounds tearing through the machine's core. It exploded, but shrapnel tore into Hale's wing, alarms screaming. His jet shuddered, trailing smoke. I'm not staying airborne long, Hale gasped. You've got 1 drone left, Ryan. Finish it. Keller's focus narrowed to a razor's edge. The last drone swung onto his tail, AI perfectly matching every jink, every flare. His HUD flashed with warning after warning. He banked low over the water, skimming so close spray lashed his canopy, forcing the drone into the same path. Athena, hold tight, he muttered though she couldn't hear. Then he pulled the oldest trick in the book, cutting throttle, flipping the jet into a sudden high-alpha maneuver, the Raptor nearly stalling. The drone shot past, its algorithms too slow to anticipate raw recklessness. Keller jammed missiles loose at point blank. The drone erupted in a flash, debris scattering into the waves. Silence filled the comms except for the ragged breathing of 2 men who knew how close death had been. Keller scanned quickly, eyes darting to the water. Athena was still there, clinging desperately to the buoy, her head barely above the surface, her body trembling with exhaustion. He exhaled a shaky breath of relief. All hostiles neutralized. She's still alive. Hale coughed, static breaking his words. Good. Because I don't know if I can keep this bird in the sky another 5 minutes. Keller bit down hard. Stay airborne, brother. I'll get her. He dove low, skimming waves, lowering gear he had no business lowering over open sea. The Raptor wasn't designed for pickups, but he'd be damned if that stopped him. He opened his canopy at low speed, fighting to keep control, wind tearing at him, salt spray coating his visor. Athena, swim for me. She heard him faintly over the roar and lifted her head. The jet was impossibly close now, a giant predator hovering above the waves, but inside she saw Keller, arm reaching out. She summoned every ounce of strength left, unclipping the survival pouch, holding it above water with one hand as she kicked weakly toward him. Her body screamed, vision dimming, but his outstretched hand grew closer. Keller's heart hammered as he leaned as far as he dared, the jet wobbling dangerously. Then contact. Her fingers brushed his. He lunged, grabbed her wrist, muscles straining as he hauled her up. The pouch slipped from her grasp, nearly lost, but Keller caught it with his other hand, refusing to let the sea claim what she had fought so hard to protect. With a final surge, he dragged her into the cockpit, slamming the canopy shut just as a warning blared, fuel critically low. Athena collapsed against him, coughing seawater, trembling uncontrollably. For a moment she could only cling to his flight vest, breath ragged, eyes wide with disbelief. You came back, she whispered hoarsely. Keller's voice was low, steady despite the adrenaline flooding his veins. I told you I would. Hale's voice crackled in weakly. Ryan, you've got her? Yeah, Keller answered firmly. She's with me. And I've got the core. Hale gave a strained laugh, half a sob. Then it was worth it. His jet dipped in altitude, trailing heavier smoke. Keller's stomach clenched. Hale, stay with me. We'll find somewhere to set down together. But Hale's silence stretched, broken only by the groan of a dying engine. Athena lifted her head weakly, hearing it too, eyes brimming. He's not going to make it, is he? Keller's grip tightened on the stick, fury and sorrow twisting in his chest. Not if I let him go down alone. He banked his jet to Hale's wing, staying close, refusing to abandon him. Athena, shivering and soaked, clutched the pouch to her chest, watching the two men who had defied everything for her. The night was far from over, and somewhere in the darkness AWACS still hunted, but for now they had survived. Smoke poured from Hale's Raptor as it limped through the night sky, wings trembling under the strain of damage, alarms shrieking in endless chorus inside his cockpit. His breath came in shallow bursts, chest heaving as if each inhalation dragged knives through his ribs, yet his hands still clung to the controls with stubborn determination. Keller flew tight on his wing, refusing to let him vanish alone into the darkness, while Athena, shivering and soaked in the back seat, pressed her trembling hands against the survival pouch as though it were her own heartbeat. She could hear Hale's labored voice crackle through comms, each word strained. "Don't follow me, Ryan. My jet's bleeding out fast. If I stay airborne another 2 minutes, it'll be a miracle. You've got Athena and the core. You need to run." Keller shook his head violently, jaw locked. "Not leaving you. We're getting out together." "Listen to me," Hale barked, though the power behind it was undercut by the ragged hitch in his breath. "AWACS will be back. Those drones were just the first wave. They know you've got her. The second you hesitate, they'll put another net around you and then none of us walk away. Don't make me waste my death." Athena's throat tightened, tears spilling hot down her salt-streaked face despite the freezing air whipping through the cracked canopy seal. "No," she whispered hoarsely, voice breaking. "We can save you, we'll find a carrier, an island, something." Hale laughed weakly, the sound brittle and tired. "You're still young enough to believe there's always a way. Meh. I've been dancing with death too long not to know when the music's about to stop." Keller's hand tightened on the throttle. "I'm not losing you, Hale. Not tonight." Silence hung for a heartbeat, heavy as stone. Then Hale's voice came softer, almost fond. "Ryan, you already lost me. But you gained something more important. That girl in your back seat and the data she carries, that's the future. Don't let it die just to cling to the past." Athena closed her eyes, body shaking as though her very soul rebelled against his words. She wanted to scream, to beg, but the truth in his tone cut deeper than any plea could erase. The ocean below stretched endless and black, no safe harbor, only death waiting in the waves. Hale's jet groaned again, banking lower without his consent, flames licking the edge of one wing. He gritted his teeth and hauled the stick, leveling just long enough to glance across the gap at Keller. Through the canopy glass their eyes met. Brothers not by blood but by bond forged in fire. Keller shook his head slowly, throat thick, but Hale gave him a tired smile, small and wry. Then he pushed his throttle forward, engine screaming as he broke formation, peeling away from Keller's side. "No!" Keller roared, slamming his throttle to follow, but Athena clutched his arm desperately, her grip weak but insistent. "Ryan, don't. He's right, you'll lose us all." He froze, torn between instinct and duty, heart splitting open. Ahead, Hale's Raptor dove toward the horizon, trailing fire like a wounded comet, straight into the path of a new blip materializing on radar, an incoming drone patrol sweeping low. Keller's eyes widened. He understood now. Hale wasn't running, he was choosing his battleground. "Goddamn you, Hale," Keller whispered, voice breaking. Hale's voice filled the comms one last time, steady now, resolved. "Tell my wife I remembered her smile. Tell my son I flew with my brothers. And tell AWACS." He flipped master arm hot, targeting systems locking on multiple drones converging, that Hale didn't go quietly. With that he rolled inverted, diving headlong into the swarm. Missiles launched in rapid sequence, his cannon spitting fire, his jet a blazing torch in the night. Drones erupted one after another under his onslaught, explosions lighting the sky, the shockwaves rippling across the water like thunder. Athena's breath hitched, eyes wide, watching the fiery ballet. For a moment, it was as though the stars themselves had come down to burn. Then a final explosion tore across the sea as Hale's Raptor collided with the last drone, the fireball blooming like a sun before fading into smoke. Silence followed, heavy, absolute. Keller's knuckles were white on the stick, vision blurring. His throat constricted too tightly for words, his chest aching with grief sharp enough to carve bone. Athena pressed a trembling hand to her mouth, a sob breaking free, the sound small and broken against the vastness of the sky. Keller's voice finally came, low and raw. "Goodbye, brother." The ocean swallowed the wreckage whole, leaving nothing but ripples and fading embers. But the sacrifice had bought them a sliver of time. Keller shook himself, forcing the grief down, locking it deep. They had to move. He throttled hard, Raptor engines roaring as he pulled away from the death sight, eyes scanning for threats. Athena curled against the seat, clutching the pouch as though if she let go even for a second, Hale's sacrifice would mean nothing. Why did he have to? She choked, voice breaking. Keller cut her off, his tone iron. Because that's what brothers do. We bleed so the others don't. Radar pinged again, faint, distant. More contacts moving in. AWACS wasn't done. Keller's mind raced, fuel low, weapons almost gone, Athena half drowned and barely conscious. They couldn't win another fight. Not like this. He keyed into encrypted band, scanning for friendly channels. Static filled his ears until, faintly, a carrier response broke through. USS Resolute 40 miles east, scramble ready. Relief stabbed him like a knife. He angled hard toward the coordinates, pushing the Raptor faster despite every warning screaming at him. The sea blurred below in streaks of silver and black. Athena lifted her head weakly, eyes still wet with grief but burning with fragile determination. Will we make it? He glanced back, seeing her pale face, her trembling hands still clamped on the pouch. For the first time in hours, he allowed a flicker of reassurance into his tone. We'll make it. For Hale. The horizon lit faintly ahead, the distant glow of carrier deck lights cutting through the dark. But behind them, radar filled again, multiple hostiles closing fast. AWACS had unleashed its fury. Keller's jaw set, fingers flexing on the controls. The fight wasn't over. Not yet. As Athena clutched the core tighter, her whispered words trembled in the cramped cockpit. A prayer, a promise, or both. Please, let his sacrifice mean something. The end.